Right, okay, my name's Jim Darby. I was going to give a quick talk about buying stuff on the interweb tubes, which is great. And quite often, late in the evening, I'll be sitting there trotting around eBay auctions. And there's some really cool stuff out there. In fact, this afternoon, I think I'm actually currently bidding on this little USB-powered torch thing, a little on-off switch on it, which was great when I was actually camping last weekend. It's just superb. Most of which is all rather good, but you've got to be a bit careful. What happens if things don't turn up, blah, 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 blah. So I tend to buy stuff for very, very low value. I think the most expensive thing I've ever bought has been about £5 on eBay. But, actually no, I'll come on to the most expensive thing I bought in a minute, actually, because that's what sparked this talk. The most expensive thing I bought was one of these 37 sensors in one kits, which quite often go with Arduinos out there. And you look at it and go like, yeah, this is a really neat idea. You can get them in the UK for about £50, £60. Saw one for about £25 on eBay. I thought, woo, what's not to love? Order. So this thing turns up. Great, it does indeed have in fact, 38 sensors. One of them was duplicated and no clear reason why. It also had the most hilariously inaccurate instructions ever. And I'm not talking about badly translated, I'm talking wrong. So let's take a particularly complex device, a switch. It's press, don't press, press, don't press. How hard can it be? The description of it was wrong. It had 3 pins on it, and the wiring diagram was actually wrong for it. Now, me being me, had a hilarious time with multimeters, buzzing them out and all the rest of it, but that could be a bit confusing and irritating. But that wasn't the problem. The real reason that actually motivated me to give this talk was other things that were in that kit. Totally against all the international mail regulations, there were 3 mercury switches of different sorts in there.
When was this? Is this recent?
This was recent. We're actually talking, between the 3 of them, I reckon this thing came with about half a cubic centimetre of liquid mercury in it, which is not good. Just to explain it, for those of you who aren't aware of this, and for some of the younger people here, mercury is a really interesting substance. It's a metal that is liquid at room temperature, which makes it useful for all sorts of really cool stuff. There's just one little catch, in that it's a really nasty toxin. It's actually really quite nasty. And it was in this kit in little glass containers. Now, I definitely was not going to bring these along and say, look at these, how dangerous they are. They're reasonably secure, and I'm pretty certain they wouldn't have got broken here. But Mike's given me that look of horror. If anything had happened, and this held it up like this and say, dropped it on the desk and it had broken, and I'd spilt mercury in here, there would be some very, very awkward discussions afterwards, and have to get like a chem team in to clear the place out, which is not going to make us popular. For me, and this is the key point I want to make, the nightmare situation is that some young person sees one of these kits on the internet and goes, that's really good. And they're actually not wrong. But they order one of these things, and suppose they then break one of the mercury things and don't realise it. So you might have liquid mercury, and it's how it absorbs is actually quite complicated, but the worst bit is actually vapour. Because it's a liquid, it will slowly evaporate. And what really terrifies me is some young person having one of these mercury things broken in their bedroom, and over the next, for argument's sake, 10 years, they're breathing in mercury vapour every night. Now, one of the things about mercury is it's what we call a cumulative poison. In other words, it's not sort of, here's a dose, if you survive it, no problem. It builds up over time. So if you're breathing in a very low level of it, say this mercury vapour seeping up off the carpet, if you're breathing that in for years at a time, it becomes extremely dangerous. It also affects growth. It actually affects young people more than older people because they're actually growing, and the mercury interferes with all sorts of biochemical processes, and it's just basically horrible. It makes lead poisoning, which I think quite a few people will have heard of a bit more, look relatively tame. It's all heavy metal poisoning, and it's not good. So that was the key bad thing in there, but it was not the only bad thing in there. Also in there was fun toys. Who doesn't love lasers? They're as much fun as robots. In fact, the only thing that's actually better than lasers and robots is, obviously enough, robots with lasers. So there was sharks with lasers, actually, which we can robot sharks with lasers. Absolutely. Interestingly, at the EMF camp, there was a group there selling laser cutters who are actually called Just Add Sharks. Best name for a laser company ever. But this laser looked vaguely familiar, and I checked against some other ones. This was a Class 3 laser. As the warning sign should go, do not look into laser beam with remaining eye. This is enough. Class 3 means it is going to cause permanent damage relatively easy. So we've actually got this kit, which not only includes hideously toxic metals, but includes something that can give you permanent eye damage. This is really, really scary. And that was the key point I wanted to bring across.
Great value.
Well, this is the point. I actually went and also, I'm slightly concerned about mentions. I also went and bought some more of these lasers online. It wasn't far off. It honestly, genuinely scares me. And I've got these. I originally thought, I can get these to sit there and use in schools. Then they arrived, and I googled the power specs for them. Thought they're Class 3. I can't even take them anywhere near schools or anything like that. So they're actually sitting at home. I personally wouldn't lend them to anyone who I'm not completely convinced has got at least like A-level physics and an awareness of lasers. They are potentially that dangerous, and I'm really not happy with them. 5. 5 non-pulsed. What's the red colour? So many nanometers. I've forgotten the exact. Sorry? Yeah, something. I can't remember the exact details, but there were 5 milliwatts. The specs were a little dubious. Some of them weren't particularly well focused. They were cheap and they were a bit dodgy, which isn't actually helping. You know, some of them might be a bit higher powered, and the catch being that they were overly cheap. This is the big plus. This is the big plus about the vendors out there. I was discussing this with them earlier, actually. And they will check. They will actually check that they aren't significant quantities of toxic metals in what they're selling you. They will actually check that you're not going to etch your initials on the back of your skull with these lasers. I haven't got it on me, actually. They sell them out there, the little keyboards with the laser markers on them. Great fun. Class 1 lasers. Hard to hurt yourself with. That's the point. So in this, which is a relatively dark environment, you can see them, but not anywhere else. These other lasers I've got, you can see in bright sunshine. Always a sign you're onto something dubious. There is some stuff that you can buy out there that's absolutely fine. I mean, this is actually some stuff I brought along today. This sort of stuff you're not going to go far wrong with. This sort of stuff, ditto. Oh, these are like breadboards and stuff. And of course, because it's me, and to generally LEDs by the significant quantities. Switches, buzzers, fine, but be careful of the all-in-one kits. Be very careful what you're buying. So that's why the whole talk is about buyer beware. Be careful what you're actually buying, and how dangerous could this actually be. Now, I might put on things saying about buying things from China. It's not just China, although they are a huge presence on eBay in selling electronics kit. Absolutely massive presence. You also get things from Thailand, another big place that exports. Where else am I missing? I was thinking somewhere else. Japan, not so much actually. It's mostly Guangdong. I'm almost certainly saying that wrong. In China, got huge electronics factories who basically sell you direct. But it really is buyer beware on that. Be very, very, very careful of what's in those kits. And that's basically the key point of what I wanted to say, which is quite a short talk. Just be very careful of what you get in those kits. Sorry, questions at the back?
I was going to say, I do a lot of eBay just like yourself, and I buy a lot of electronic components. This last week I've been installing quite heavily supplier that supposedly was in London and projects himself as being in London, but everything has come from China. And I'm currently going through a private investigation for feedback to get my money back. So don't think just because it's advertised that it's coming from London, that it is actually coming from London. Because the seller will communicate to you very well, say, yeah, it's in the book, give you a copy of the So Jim's making a really good connection. Yeah, and I've learned at school as well. Most of my kit comes before the school and college.
So that's why, again, especially if you're actually in a school, you want that certain degree of safety about stuff. A lot of stuff is safe. So, you know, things like the breadboards, there's only so much can actually go wrong. But other things like getting mercury and also getting burnt. Most of the stuff I buy, I mean, these I think I was buying like 60 pence each. If you get burnt for 60 pence, really not a problem. Or you might get, say, 3 for £1.80 or £1.50 or something. Fine, but I would not spend big money on them. Right, I think that's about it. As Mike's waving red flags at me. Any questions, give me a shout. Would you?